All right. Hello, everybody. Let's start talking about the Elia chapters, the most recent chapter. We get a beautiful glimpse into Elia's day to day life, the Goblin King killer hanging out in the Wandering Inn, the owned by the Goblin Friend of Israel, right? We get to see her. It's really cool and it's very well done, where we get glimpses of her day to day life through her chapters with zero details, just the girls Marsha and Annette eavesdropping, reading her diary, and then we get to see from her perspective how she's dealing with Stick, right? With Callus and the other goblin servers that hang around the inn. Then we get a wonderful, really honestly, I think sad uh, bit with Salith and Onivia when they go to check up on her. And Salith and Onivia finally finds out her truth, right? The reality of her situation. Then we get the final resolution where Mersha sees a little bit of her old self in Elia, and she finally trusts her. Like, hey, I know you are the Goblin Killer, but you don't hate the goblins like I used to. You kind of trust you. She gets to be the third person to hang out in the alternate reality level 70 skill Aaron has yet to unlock. Super duper cool. And we get the cool combination skill where the goblins and Elia get to talk, and they both see the world through each other's eyes. So hopefully, um, y'all have thoughts about this discussion, right? Let me know what if anybody wants to talk, if anybody has like a really quick saying or cool moment you want to point out before we start getting into the discussion topic questions. Please at me in the at ADC reactions and comments. Um, and I'll happily mute myself and let you talk, or we can have a quick little back and forth. Red ink. Would you like to share some of the and thoughts you had about this chapter that we got to speak about
Yeah,
before the row up?
yeah, sure. No need to mute yourself because you're the host, so you just stay on the chat. The
Right.
chapter I actually read it on the stream, and I had a
Mhm.
comment which like helped edit it. But I thought that it just goes to show that the editing process has gotten so good that it was able to improve the chapter so much from when it was originally written in rough draft to what the final bit was. I gotta say, it improved a lot. It expanded. The ending was much better. The meat of it was much better. Like all the notes from the original draft were there, but it just came out so much better, and it just flowed so much better. Um, that was really nice to see. It gives me hope that if I ever get to writing a story like this, that I can also improve my drafts like Parda was able to do. Um, I really liked the chapter that ended up coming out. I thought that was like a 9 out of 10. I really liked the Oniva bit that ended up happening with Mern and Salas. That was really interesting. Also with like how strong she is, because we got to see that she was able to basically body toss level 30 or 40 protector, which is Mern, and she's an alchemist. So it gives me hope that Erin will also be able to do the same, even when she's not using reinforced structure. She'll also be as powerful. But I guess we also saw that in the
Uh,
last chapter when she was.
Absolutely, that Gallus muscle.
Yeah, the Gallus muscle, like it's gonna be coming in now that she's level 55, and she's been like possessed and everything. But this chapter we got to see someone that's been level 50 for a long time and how much has changed their body. Elia is coming up as it's showing her. It's showing that she didn't run against the Goblin King, and that
Beautiful
like,
moment.
really she didn't
So
run.
good.
um, and also in all the futures, she doesn't run as well. So it just shows
Mhm.
her. It shows how
She's
how
real
salt.
corn,
She's real
as Sally
corn.
said.
She may not have the skills for it or the level for it, but she has the mentality to do it.
The backbone.
She
Was
has
that
the
your favorite?
backbone. She's very stalwart. I really liked that. I also liked the fact that they weren't able to find out the truth of the Goblin King through some like kind of gimmick. Really, it's going to have to come later in the
Hmm.
progression of the story.
Puts a pin on it there. But
Yeah.
I think that might not be true, and that's part of the discussion topics.
Okay. Well. We go into the more depth in the discussion topics. I'm just saying what I thought. But
Perfect.
yeah, I really liked the chapter. I thought it came out really well, and I'm excited to talk more about it later. All right, thanks.
No, of course. Thank you for talking. Thank you for helping me out. I heavily agree. 9 out of 10, huge setup chapter. I can't wait to see the continuation. Mr. Europe, do you have your thoughts? Favorite
Yeah.
moment of the chapter? Moment you hated? Let me know.
I thought this was a really cool chapter. Elia is a really interesting character to me because I very much like the character. I love how Pirate writes her, how she's portrayed, and all that. And at the same time, I really don't like her as a person. Kind of like it's both. I both like her and uh, wouldn't feel too bad if she died, I guess.
Mr.
So
Europe, that seems she's a very divisive character, and funnily enough, I think Mersha has that same opinion where if she dies, cool. It's not
yeah,
someone she's near and dear to her heart. Continue, please.
yeah, and that's the interesting thing, like with her that on one hand, screw her. On the other hand, I'm interested to see her become a part of the In family,
Mhm.
which doesn't really make sense together, but there it is. I really enjoyed all the characterization, like the character building with her and with Oniva and Salis and all of that. Just
Mhm.
it for all of the different lore drops and like different Mersha going around in the Palace of Fates and revealing a bunch of stuff and like having all of that. With all of that, it was still very like the character moments were very enjoyable, especially with Calicent and the goblins and that still. My favorite part of the chapter was definitely I thought the Nanette's plan was going to be a disaster because when she was kept talking to Elia, it felt like she was focusing completely on the wrong things and that she was just trying to do something dumb and it wasn't working. And then actually, it turned out she pulled off a very clever idea with the whole uh, whatchamacallit, the shared vision thing of the different perspectives, and I thought that was really cool that she managed to actually do something properly witchy, like
No,
actually make it work as well as
Mr.
she
Europe,
did.
I think I picked up on that too. She really came at it with like the wrong intentions. She wanted to do an Aaron moment. She wanted to be a witch. And thankfully it didn't fall on its face and like ruin her stock in the wandering inn?
Yeah. And because Elia's so like has such is so impassive and professional all the time, no one really understood what her main issues were, or what she thought. Nanette clearly had an idea of what
Hmm.
was bothering her, and it was completely wrong. But her plan worked anyway. It was still a very good idea to do that, and I thought that was great.
Right? Um, I feel like great moment from her because every goblin wants to know exactly what's a Goblin King killer thought about it. I thought about Velen the Kind, how she deals with goblins. Really great. Thank you for talking, Mr. Europe. Sir Bear, I see you've added me. Please unmute and let me know your thoughts about the chapter.
I don't know how to really feel about the chapter. I know it's brilliantly written with the concept of the moment with the journal where it's divided into event according to Elia. It's nicely done, but oh god, the character are such asshole in this chapter. Asgoa doing stuff with the amulet. Nanette and Marsha reading their journal. The other goblin doing that too. Disputing the privacy. Lion with the passive aggressive quest. The goblin attack. All that stuff. Olivia being weird with the whole situation about herself. It's I don't know how to feel about that. For some of them it makes for some character that reaction makes sense. Like Marsha, she loved to search everything. When she was introduced, she was grabbing Ryoka's bois,
Mm.
so it makes sense for her to search for Elia journal. But yeah, I got a lot of thought about the Springen and Elia statue scene.
Yeah.
I I, 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 I don't know how to think how to feel about that one either. It was nicely done, but I think it could have been done better, or it ruined some potential for some scene with Aaron that talk to Elia because Elia was set up to be a rival to the Goblin friend of Israel with the whole Kingslayer situation and all of that. And Marsha taking that job is it's nice in some way because she is Aaron heir in some sort, but yeah.
No, Servant, I completely agree. That moment felt really quick. It was like a nice lore drop, and we get things like certain confirmations done. But I feel like it's set up for like in the future
Yeah,
we get more from like the level 70 scale, right? And we get to see Spriggan alternate realities.
We could have been. I think it was done nicely well because we knew of the spring and India connection thanks to the flashback. I think it's interlude level or something like that. I can't remember exactly which chapter. But yeah, it was nice done. I think the witch scene was done well, and I don't know how to feel about Salius because it's not a topic I know a lot of stuff about. And I will leave that to the person that know more about that type of subject.
Yeah,
So
don't worry. That's actually our second discussion and topic question.
yeah,
And things look pretty bleak if I'm allowed to like jump ahead.
yeah,
R.I.P. Silas. R.I.P. Onivia too.
yeah. It's a worth bet. Give a note to the chapter, maybe a 7.5 out of 10, somewhere around that at least. Maybe an 8.5 if I feel better later about it. I don't know, but
No
it's clear.
worries.
It's clearly better than the stream.
Yeah, Redding was saying that the stream chapter didn't hit all the same notes,
Yeah, no,
and
no.
a lot of the meat potatoes was not there. I
Doubling
was very pleasantly surprised with the chapter, so thankfully.
doubling the world count can't do that, people. It can change a lot of things.
Now, thank you for sharing, Sarah. We have actually a comment from Kainias. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing your name correctly. She says, "Great chapter, both Sally's and Onivia and Ellie's part, with a good in events thrown in. Nanette was kind of being ignored, but ended up doing a pretty good job with her meeting of foes, even if it demonstrated that changes will probably be slow, but it was a good start. Ellie's and Callescent's chemistry felt good too. Oh my gosh. I was saying this earlier, just like briefly with Redding before the chapter discussion started. Ellie and Callescent, like, that chemistry felt really, really well done, you know? I wish them the best. Even in world, you see like the Rags and Red Scar comment like, dang, they're kind of making eyes at each other, you know? They're kind of being a little too cutesy. And it would be really funny if the number one goblin killer on the planet ends up dating a goblin, That'd be really cute. That'd be a fun little moment. And then we have a comment from Sideham. Lots of cool stuff this chapter. Ellie is fun, Salus and Onivia are tragic. Couple things don't really flow to me personally and fell forced. Also, I'm really uncomfortable for Ishker and hope, however things turn out, his agency gets properly addressed. Ooh, interesting. Would you mind commenting more about what felt forced? If anything, I would say the Spriggania moment. It felt really brief, felt really quick, as Sarah Bear previously commented. But I'm hopeful that it's a follow-up and it's a huge setup. And yeah, R.I.P. Ishker. Poor guy, Finds a super beautiful blue and pink Drake and thinks things are going well. And then Onivia might not come back, depending on the body shenanigans and her future in the arc. If no one else has if no one else has a thought or a quick overview or a moment they want to point out, we can start the discussion topics and questions. 3, 2, 1. Cool. All right. So discussion topic number 1. Let me copy and paste it for those who do not have the Word document. Thoughts on Asgra and the other Elia haters, the hiding of the amulet and the shoe throwing. So Asgra, if I remember correctly, the goblin who was going and trying to get revenge on Elia to the point of death, to the point of her destruction, right? The hiding of the amulet. Poor little Elia, thinking she loves spicy food. And she's the best at handling it. She had a fire heat resistance amulet that kind of covered it, and we get a funny little moment there. And then the shoe throwing. This was so much fun. Is this a reference to George Bush dodging people getting a shoe thrown? Who knows? Mr. Europe, would you like to give us your thoughts?
Yes. Asgra was was Kalescent's assistant in the inn, I believe.
Gotcha.
The one who hid the amulet, and not the same one as the one who tried to kill Elia. But
Oh, my bad. Thank you for correcting.
but yeah, I thought this was, as I said earlier, I don't mind seeing Elia suffer as much as I like her. So personally, I thought, she's earned it. She's earned the uh, absolute suffering of spicy food after the long duel with Kalescent's spices. I thought it was hilarious, quite frankly.
It was so funny. Callison saw he lost. He was crying. He was about to hang up the towel, and boom, the Antinium come.
Yeah, I do find it very interesting at the towards the end where the um the more traditional, I guess, goblins who are very yay goblin king, even when they see he's kind of monstrous. uh they It feels weird to them to actively speak against the goblin king,
Mhm.
and to have the old Hobbs, I guess, or they're all very young, but the olden spirit, I guess, like Kalescent and Red
The
Scar and
old
some
guard
others.
from
Yeah,
the
the old
mountain.
guard who've
Yeah.
been around a while and have leadership and stuff, and they see that Velen was not actually very you should not aspire to be that.
Velen was not very
Yeah,
kind.
yeah. Or he wasn't as king. Yeah, I thought that was very cool to see the different sides of the goblin perspective on that. And I really like how Pirate divided up, and I feel like it's very realistic and makes a lot of sense that you have this divide, that even though there's proof that he was absolute, like just a violence given form kind of, it's
Yeah, we got
he's yeah, I
in-world
mean,
proof of that, right? With
yeah,
Rags not being able to access his dreams.
yeah, and it's also that, like, even though he's so like not a good king at that point, and not a good leader at all, he's still looked up to by many goblins even after they see it, because he's a reason. Even though people kill goblins because they fear him, uh it's still, after living as a goblin, you
Oh,
understand why they'd still look up to the reason why people still shiver when they hear Goblin King.
no,
Like
that's actually a really good point, Mr. Europe. Even though he, I guess, won and tore cities off the map, like in a conquest in his rage, that ended up creating negative enmity that lasts to this day, right? We have like royal houses who are like dead set on all the people they lost from like the fall of roses because of him, right?
mm,
Who will kill goblins on
yeah,
sight.
like if you live your life in fear, uh the rest of it doesn't much matter when there's a goblin who makes the people who try to kill you also feel fear. Like it's an interesting, it does, there's a lot of nuance to it. And like some goblins, obviously Rags and like her close advisors, are very tired of it all and like want to
The
break the
circle.
chain and all of that. But yeah, it's in I like that it's not all that, and there are some people who see the mad slaughter goblin running across
On
the
all.
ground on basically all fours, and still look at that and say, "Oh, that's kick ass," because it
Hey,
is.
it's kick ass, but there is nuance to it, and I can't wait for Pyro Atla to like get into it and explore it more. Thank you for talking. Sarah Baird, you've added me. Would you like to share your thoughts?
I just realized, like just before this discussion, that I hate Asgore because she's a poser. For those that forget, Asgore is a cave goblin from the dungeon. She did she didn't know what a hobgoblin looked like. She didn't know a hobgoblin existed,
Mhm.
and I doubt she knew what the Goblin King existed. So her being all that mad about all that stuff and torturing other people for fun and being a general someone causing trouble across the end with Askerash, with all the stuff. She's a
Mhm.
goblin that posed problem when she's a cave goblin that knew nothing about all that stuff. It's like, why are you the one complaining? You're like a fake ally or something like
No,
that.
OMG. Sarah Baird, let me push back against that. Could you imagine living your life as a slave, right? To the Rasgar? And then all of a sudden you get entered into this brand new world where you have five heroes, right? Or I guess an archer, a super badass warrior, um,
Yeah, that's
or
fine.
one hero rabbit eater who like saves you out of it. Like, I'm sure she's like following the hype a little bit, like for sure as a little bit of a poser, but she's happy to do so. She's just so happy to be a goblin now versus, I guess, whatever she viewed herself as, like a cave goblin.
Yeah, but that's much another talk about it. And for that scene, for that the her stealing the amulet thing, that's an actual war crime right there, because with all them the Kelleson set he prepared the dish. He had to wear a mask, all that stuff. That dish was like an active war crime, and the Unseen Empire enforcing Elia to eat it. I know
No,
that the regular dead spice is shenanigan in the end, but there it was a super dead spice. It was not regular dead spice.
Sarah Bear, I kind of agree. OMG, like that has to be the elf side of her keeping her like her organs keeping her safe. Because like even if you eat really spicy food and it's good going in, going out, ouch. They
Yeah,
mentioned a joke about the toilets needing plumbing.
someone was in the chat that Asgore being a fan of Vice despite fighting on the opposite side back in Volume 5. Yeah, that's the kind of problem that I have with her, where she's like a poser that loves cause trouble for nothing.
Happens.
It's,
All right. Thank you, sir.
but yeah, to show the tomato and all of that, that's regular cartoon violence shenanigan in the end. That's normal. It's just that the amulet is a bit serious because it was an actual war crime there, not regular shenanigan. So hey,
Right on. Thank you, Saber, for talking. Next we have a comment from Dart Time. We almost got to shout the Sour Chef timeline in reference to Calicent. About to hang it up. And then we have a comment from Sidehammer. Amulet and shoot stuff felt like regular in hijinks. Right. Aaron's been hit by death spice trees before. We all laughed then too. Of course. Then Red Ink Quill, would you mind talking?
Yeah, I thought that it's normal for the goblins to hate Elia because if we remember, Elia had aura that makes goblins have fear because of her class and who she killed. So she's constantly putting that out. I know it wasn't at all in this chapter, but she has an aura that makes goblins upset and scared, and it's normal for them to hate her. As far as Astra, if anyone's been oppressed for most of their life and then suddenly they find out that their race is actually cool and powerful and has made the world flee before them, they would also, you know, raise that up in their estimation. It would make them feel powerful. It would make them feel like they had a good reason to live and something to aspire to. So I don't
Right.
think it's like a poser thing at all. I think it's like really finding your roots and feeling powerful in that you had ancestry in previous iterations of your species that have been powerful and strong and stuff like that. That's very normal. We see that on Earth as well. Everyone's looking to their ancestors when they were powerful, if they're having trouble now. But in terms of the amulet, I thought that was just really funny. Like, no wonder she was able to eat the death spice no problem without bloody poo, is because she has the heat amulet, the fire amulet. It just goes to show how powerful callus and spices are. They're considered fire. I thought it was a little weird that Calcent wasn't leveling up when he finally affected Elia with the death spice. Just going to say he should have gotten a level out of that,
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding
But
me?
I guess we're not getting Calicent's levels. I know there's a lot of characters that we don't get levels for, and I guess Calicent is one of them. But I just thought the spice thing was funny. I think the shoe tossing is hilarious because that's what happened with George W. Bush in Iraq. It's just funny. And then I thought Rags kind of clamping down on it was also good. Setting an example as a chieftain, trying to break the circle. I think it's just all really interesting. I think that perhaps this chapter could have used some of the Elliot aura referenced a little bit, because that's what happened when Ellie first came to the end. All the goblins were kind of cowering and trying to resist it, but we didn't see that at all this chapter. So that's my comment.
Reddick, maybe that'll get comment more in the future, or maybe Elia ends up losing her aura, because in world she is the Goblin Terminator.
Yeah.
Line ender shot.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
goblin will occur. She's
no
a monster
goblin
to
can
goblins.
survive that. Yeah, exactly.
The polar opposite, I believe Mr. Europe mentioned it, the polar opposite of Aaron, who has a goblin friend.
Yeah.
Aura. So that's a good thing to note for the future. Thank you for talking. The next comment was Mr. Europe. For Cerebear, she came out of the caves last spring. Given how goblins work, she's likely been out of the caves for a third of her life. Referencing that Azra definitely, has found her culture, and like Redding was saying, I'm for sure she has that real love, and I guess felt lost to know that such a strong goblin died. Dart Time comments, Asgro was a fan of Reese despite fighting on the opposite side back during Volume 5. Hey, people's politics are a little funny like that, Who knows? Here we have Kindness, who said a comment, this division among goblins should continue to be addressed, with Rags trying to end the circle of hatred. It is problematic that so many goblins still don't see any problem with all of that violence with the Goblin Kings, and that some also want to take revenge for Tremborag and Reese. It goes contrary to what she's trying to accomplish. Absolutely. Hopefully we see it. So we see it in her personal interactions with day-to-day goblins, with the Red Scar in this very specific chapter. But hopefully we see it in 2 days, right? When we see the much more, I guess, not objectively, but on the more rougher side, sea ocean goblins, right? Who are robbing, murdering, are in full opposition of humans. And hopefully let's see how she ends up dealing with them, right? We see like in an alternate reality, she kind of loses and gets beat up. But hopefully with the evil elder god demon thing and the second army of Palace, hopefully we can see her juggle it all. All right. And now on to the second question. OMG, it's been 40 minutes. Let me copy and paste it in the chat for everyone to read. The second question goes as follows. Salis and Onivia. Good ending? Bad ending? Or death flag? Question mark. Does anybody have any thoughts, or does anybody want to talk? Because my personal thoughts is the way the scene was written, how things were going. Life was so good for Onivia. And then we see little glimpses of her slowly piecing together that no one knows who she is. Is she real? Is someone messing with her mind? And with her fully conceptually coming to terms with her reality and how she is actually Salis. And she's herself as well. And then as soon as Salis comes back, and Salis is like, hey, buddy, I'm gonna have to go to war. And this is a final push into the new lands. It gave me, whoever wrote this question summed it up perfectly. Death flag. I wish the best for both of them. Red Ink Quill. Do you mind talking? I see you pinned me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that Salis is definitely going to die, and maybe Anivia is going to live. She's going to. Yeah, so it's going to be the death of, he's going to reveal that he's a turn scale, and then he's going to die for the Drakes, and then that's going to change maybe the opinion of Turnscales, or maybe give the Turnscales and Palace some cover, and then Anevia is going to live and come back and live in the Wandering Inn or something. I think that's just how it's going to go. I hope that's how it's going to go. I know that the future is up in the air. I just think that we haven't really gotten that many big deaths in the Wandering Inn that really hit hard for real big characters. Usually they just get written less about rather than the dying. I think the only character recently that has died that hit hard was Kevin, and then maybe also the the, the half giant and the archer, more and I forget it. Yeah, Halric, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Those are the only ones that kind of the deaths that hit hard recently. I don't know if we're going to get a Salis Oniva tragic ending. That's not really how the Wandering usually goes. I think we'll think that he died, but Onivia is going to come back. You know, that's
Red
just
Ink. We talked a little bit about this. Spoilers.
Yeah.
I want you to be right. I want you to be right so bad. I'm getting a tummy instinct that
You get
things
a
are
gut
gonna go
feeling.
so
Gut
bad. I
feeling.
know.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Yeah.
Sidehammer felt real death flags for them in this chapter. I agree. Mr. Europe. I got real 2 weeks from retirement vibes, which make me very nervous. I agree, Mr. Europe. This things might go bad. And Kineas says, I want to think that he/she is too good of a character to kill and that the turn scale plot is still not developed enough. But it's not impossible. I still hope that we get a lot more of them. I hope so too. I guess speaking more overarchingly over the plot of The Wandering Inn, the two super cool turn scales were our homies, our oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the names. No, it's gonna be recorded forever that I forgot.
Zell
Zell,
and
Zell Shivertail,
and
and
the other guy, the one that took over Aaron.
starts with an L. I think.
I,
Saris.
yeah,
Sarah.
Sarah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for this, guys. So it's Saris, the Spear of the Drake. And we have Zell, the shield, the super tanky guy, defend the like it. They both love each other, and they died,
We can't
and
have
it
every
sucked.
heroics turn scale die. That can't happen.
Right.
It
So
can't be the third person also dies. Third time's the charm, right? Third time's the charm.
Red Ink. Unfortunately, I think if you're gay in the Wandering Inn, you will get murked. Right. I think Salis, Onivia, I guess, like is dating Ishtar, so like, they might be safe, but a comment came in from Cerebear, hashtag bro your gays. It's so sad. We just had like our Pride, whatever, our Pride event here in Atlanta. I'm from Atlanta, guys, not to dox myself. And it was so nice to see gay people alive, right? Please, Pirate Abba, do not kill Salis. I think you will, though. Does anybody else have any more thoughts? Cool. The third question we have coming in is from, let me post it in the comments. 2 days. 2 days till midnight. Rags the trolls in the second army, the Necro Drake, and possibly Goblin Goku. Is this a storm before the ending arc of a volume, or will it blow up into the ending arc itself? Guys, and ladies, I truly believe this is going to be the huge climax. I think we're going to jump perspectives and get a little more with King Destruction, get a little more of Valeros. But absolutely the evil monster Necro Drake, the trolls, the second army, and Goblin Goku. What a great name. Our battle maniac. That's going to be a huge climax, at least for like the middle point of the arc. Maybe. Does anybody have any thoughts? Oh, Red Ink Quill. Do you mind letting us know, Esync?
Yeah, I think that this isn't going to be an end of volume story. I think it's going to be a mid volume story. And I'm just thinking there's no way that the 2 days until the second army arrives is going to be like the never ending gif of when the truck hits like something that just keeps on going on and on and on. It never happens. I think we're going to get it maybe when Pirate Abba comes back from break. We're going to get the conclusion of this arc or the diplomacy between Second Army and Rags, and then maybe another chapter where they fight the Necro Drake. That's just what I think. I think Elia is also going to be the one that gets the Second Army to have diplomacy with Rags to prevent them from fighting immediately. She's going to be the bridge. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen because she has the she has the legitimacy to do that because she's usually anti-goblin. She's the anti-goblin adventurer, named rank adventurer. And Rags is also the civilized goblin, and we're going to see a different thing happen that's not being shown in Palace of Fates. I think that probably Rags is going to hit level 40 in this fight against the Necrodrake by help using their skills for her tribe and also the second army. And then I'm not sure if Teriarch is going to help at all, or if he is, he's going to be directed by Rags, and Rags is going to get some sick level 40 skills, maybe even become a Goblin Lord. I don't know if he will though. She will, because we already got another Goblin Lord in Rabbit Eater, and I don't know if we're gonna get a second Goblin Lord in Rags. Who knows what's gonna happen there? But
I honestly think Pirate Abba is gonna have a really bad time on break because there's so many moving parts, like you just mentioned, Redding, that are gonna have to deal with each other. I can't see this being less than like 5 chapters.
yeah,
Like 30K chapters, you know?
I think it's going to be like 4 chapters, because what we're also missing is also unresolved is the Kraken Eaters coming at the same time. That's going to be a lot to resolve. A ton to resolve.
I believe the Kraken Eaters are the Sea Goblins, and that's who
It's
Goku is referring to.
Yeah, it's the Fremelin goblins.
Fremelin Goblin.
Yeah. It's the one that he's like a chieftain, but he doesn't have visions of the past. Rags has gone to talk to him a couple times in the past, and she recently had a fight with them when they were trying to exterminate a village. Rags defended the villagers, and then he's coming to find out more, or maybe fight Rags. He doesn't know any of the context of what's happening there with Second Army and the Necrodrake. He's completely ignorant, and we'll see if there's a huge conflict, because the Kraken Eaters are not diplomatic goblins. They are pillage goblins. They are kill everyone goblins, and it's going to be really hard to thread that needle. I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be really interesting.
It's going to be super interesting. Rags is definitely going to have to move all the pieces around the board to destroy the Necrodrake, and I agree. I think she's going to hit 50 off of this. This is a 50? Huge moment.
But she's 39 right now, so it's going to be hard to
Fake
get to
news.
50.
Her classes are going to consolidate. We need Rags in the passenger seat. And boom. Oh, thank you so much for speaking, Red Ink. Mystical Pie comments. I think this is more of a mid-volume climax. The volume doesn't even feel like it's 50% of the way through at this point. The Horns plot has really just gotten started. We've made no progress on Bad Arrow / Calenfer in Baleros. Erin is just getting settled after the first portion of her arc. We haven't seen anything from the new lands, and I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting more. This volume likely ends with some combination of Erin's return to Israel / Erin's meetup with Nier, then the Horns reuniting. I legit think we're maybe 35% on the way to this volume. And honestly, Mystical Pie, I think we're like 20%, maybe 15% of the way through the volume. But I agree, it's gonna have to be a mid-volume climax or a quarter volume climax. Mr. Europe, you commented my name. Would you like to share your thoughts?
I think it's very interesting for a number of reasons. Like on the subject of where this is in the volume, I think we're later than you guys think. There's been a lot of words and a lot of various chapters in this volume, even with the 1 chapter a week rule that Pirate has put in. In a normal volume, we would see this as like the big inciting incident that then leads to the actual end of the arc, I think. But here, I don't know. It's a volume that's different from others because of scheduling, because of other reasons. The Pirate went slightly insane a couple months back and wrote like 20 chapters in a couple weeks. We've it's very odd chapter and it's hard, or odd volume, and it's hard to predict that possibly. But I think I mostly agree that this is about the halfway, like the mid volume arc and big event, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here because there are several forces that are all in various positions, all converging on the high passes, big doom and gloom, and big planning and all of that. And I think it's going to be uh, a lot of like. I think it's going to have a very impactful resolution. I guess it is that the. I think this is going to resolve or start to resolve the whole palace mess that we have, uh, or it's going to completely destabilize it even more if now I forget her name, the General Shrika, whatever, the general of the Second Army,
Yeah.
who's one of the only good, competent people in Palace right now, and it's going
Mr.
to be
Europe,
very. Yeah.
I think you're hitting the mark. Maybe the reason why we feel like it's going to be a not as we feel it's a mid-volume climax is because how localized it is, right? This is Palace, this is Liscord, this is the goblins here in Israel, and we're still getting glimpses from Baleros, like the new lands. I think easily Palace will get destabilized. Um, maybe they throw a coup. Maybe Chaldeon has a last hurrah. Mr. Europe, I have no clue how this is gonna go. I just hope Rags lives.
Yeah, I mean, with all the chaos and everything, I mean, even not even mentioned in this is, of course, the forces of Teriarch and Magnolia, who are also in the high passes and might get drawn in, and all of Liscor. I mean, it's a definitely bigger scale than the ending of Volume 6 with the Krellers, but
But it's
we've
not as
gotten
big
used.
as the
We,
gods,
we we've
volume
gotten
9.
used to a better class of or better class of volume endings, I guess.
Mhm.
Much bigger scale. So
Um,
yeah, I agree that it's probably
Mr.
not going to
Europe,
be it's probably not going to spiral into the ending of the volume. But I mean, it's a lot of chaos and a lot of things that can spiral wildly out of control for various different factions.
um, Mr. Europe, I don't know if you're familiar with a medium called Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
Um, but I feel like Pirate might have written herself in a similar trap where I'm this we're talking after this chapter and we're all excited to see all the moving parts and it's going to be really hard to write it. But none of us believe this is the end of the volume because we just fought a couple of gods and they died, right? Our end goal is very similar. Like we have the same expectations of Mersha, right? Like, oh, we have two errant gods that are seam walkers running around, and oh, an elder little baby adult Creeler. That's nothing, right? It's not like a planet destroying effect. You know, like, oh, the planet almost exploded, like in Dragon Ball Z. We beat the monster. Yay, we did it. The next bad guy, he's blowing up the galaxy. Oh no. What's going on? We need to beat him. They beat him. And then, boom, the final, I think they're currently fighting gods and who destroy realities with one punch, like it's things are getting bigger and bigger and bigger to where like this small scale battle doesn't feel real, I guess.
I will say that I wouldn't be disappointed if we got a smaller scale end of arc or end of volume thing.
Mhm.
I don't think this is it, but I think the biggest argument why this isn't the end of the volume thing is that I don't think not even Pirate can fit in advancing the Horns, Rabbit Eater's gang, and Aaron's story noticeably, like to a point where it feels like a conclusion to this volume in 2 days worth of time. We've been jumping a lot of around a lot in this volume, but I don't. If they'd said 2 weeks, maybe, but I don't think this is. I don't think this is it.
Who knows? Thank you for sharing. Mr. Europe, Red Ink Quill, you've tagged me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that we are thinking of this in terms of volumes, but we're not thinking of it in terms of Kindle and Audible books. This would be the ending of a Kindle or Audible book for sure.
Mhm.
Like when she publishes this, it's going to be the end of a published book. So if you think about that, it actually is the end of a book, but it's not the end of a volume, if that makes any sense. Just wanted to say that.
Okay, right on. Mystical Pie, Volume 10's climax doesn't have to do anything with the gods to be satisfied. The reasons this event is very obviously not going to be the end of the climax of this volume is that the majority of this volume has been focused on viewpoints and events outside of Israel. So the volume necessarily must at least resolve events outside of Israel. If this volume had a tighter focus on Israel, this arc could have been a volume-ending conclusion. But that just isn't the case. I agree, Mystical Pie. It's tough out here. Where it feels weird to have read a story week by week that's like 10 whatever 5 million words long, and to be like, we need a couple more million words, you know, like we need to hear more about the outside world, right? More global events, how people interact, right? Smaller character moments with each other versus just Israel. Next, if no one else has another thing to say or a thought to share, we have Where the Hell is Numtongue? Let me copy and paste it into the chat. Numtongue has been noticeably gone. And by noticeably, I mean very important people. Mersha, Elia, in the most recent chapter, but previous, Rags, Lonette, they are all mentioning that Numtongue is missing. And in a conversation before starting the recording, I was speaking to Reddy Quill, and he pointed it out like, hey, what's going on? Is there like a deeper meaning? And I'm starting to think there might be something really cool with going on with Numtongue. So everybody's opinion has been saying, oh, he's been out drinking and, having sex, I guess, sleeping with all of his paramours. And little by little, we've been getting, I guess, seeds of like, he's not hanging out with, oh my gosh, no, I'm blanking on names again. He's not hanging out with Garia. He's not hanging out with Octavia. Maybe the one Drake who like was in the Bloodfeast Raiders for a little bit. What is Namtung doing? We have no clue, but hopefully he's doing something productive, right? Hopefully he is. OMG. Superbred Ninja commented. Numtung joins the Bloodfeast Raiders to level. He hasn't been leveling recently, and he knows the rule, so he's taking matters into his own hands. I think Numtung is not necessarily killing and murdering people, but he happens to have something super cool. Red Quill, I don't know if you want to speak more, but he has the ability to talk to the dead. And we recently had a very important character die who was near and dear to the goblins, a character by the name of Kevin the Human. That, like, honestly, he was a gangster. He was hanging out in Goblin Home. He was skateboarding with them. Every goblin's like, dang, I miss Kevin, pour one out for Kevin. Could Numtung be talking to Kevin? Could Numtung be talking to the other souls, other goblin souls who can speak to Kevin? Who knows? Red and Quill, yeah, he had me.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to that. That was my theory. I think that Numtung will be talking to Kevin. That might be a soul that he could summon, or that could talk to Numtung because he is a soul bard. And it seems that soul bard is connected to Hellstay, and now that all the souls are going to Hellstay, Numtung is now talking to more than just goblin souls. So that's my theory. He's probably having to deal with the fallout of having more than one viewpoint that he's communicating with, and he's just having a hard time reconciling it. That's what I think is happening. I don't think that he's fighting with the Bloodfused Raiders. I don't know what he's doing because he's a bard. He could be doing anything. I know he was writing the ballad of the Red Fang 5. I'm not sure if he ever finished that. So I'm not sure exactly what he's doing. Doesn't seem like he's with his harem either.
Yeah, that's the interesting part. We know he's not having sex and drinking his life away, which is what we got earlier in the volume. So he might be doing something productive. And if anything, Redding, I would push back a little. I do believe he can only speak to goblin souls. But Kevin has a G pass, you know what I'm saying? Like Kevin's like, that's our boy Kevin. We rocking with Kevin because Kevin rocking with us.
Yeah.
Like, let me start your comment. Mr. Europe, what do you think about what Numtuck? Where is he? What's he doing?
I'm going to throw out a real dark horse tinfoil theory here.
Shoot.
I think because Numtung has previously been struggling with his whole bardic thing and like leveling that and doing that because he's kind of audience shy and like getting things together and actually performing. I think that it's possible he's getting involved in the whole palace situation because the Edelaine, the general of the first army, who's like in charge and generally a complete idiot who's ruining everything.
Yeah.
He is Edelaine Blackwing, and Numtung's serial killer girlfriend is Selkis Blackwing, who's part of the same family. I think the real tinfoil theory here is that he's getting involved in that and helping her with something that's going to end up having a major impact on the palace power scene.
Mr. Europe, they need a coup. We need some political drama after all of this. I think that's a really good theory. It's good stuff. Did anybody else have a thought about where Numtung is doing? Or what he's doing? Where is he? Nope. The next question. Question 5, we're halfway through, or a little more than halfway through, is in King. Leonette got her groove back, but the witchy visitor and furry spymaster are eroding her authority. Will the princess recover her rule with the wand quest? Or will the faction splinter? Whoever wrote this question, wow, OMG, I completely forgot about the wand. Yeah. Lynette is so busy spending money and trying to figure out how to recover from wrecking the world economy. I don't think she's thought about the fact that she has a seed from one of the great forests that could restart like the treants and the oh my gosh, I'm blanking on names. I'm horrible with names.
Dryad?
The dryads. Like, who knows? OMG. Mr. Europe, do you have any thoughts?
Yes. This was my dumb question.
Great dumb question. I completely forgot about this stuff. Lynette should be losing levels. OMG.
Yeah, I think the wand, or I hope the wand will come into play this volume, but I wrote this because I'm very interested in the power dynamics around it, because we've seen Leonette really coming into her own
Mhm.
but now it's a lot of focus on Mersha and Nanette growing up and coming into their own and also getting power. And there's still this questionable quest around that they're all centered around and disagree on, and that they have to organize. And I'm wondering how is this actually going to play out with them? How are they going to manage to
Mr. Europe, I think this is gonna have to be after the battle, or maybe it's like a smoking gun where like dryad magic is so healing that it could destroy the corrupting weird zombie, elder zombie.
That would be
God.
crazy.
Who knows? Anybody have any thoughts? Mm, none that I see. Yeah, this is just a wild question. Who knows? I have nothing else to say about this. I'm sorry, Mr. Europe. The next question we have is paste. Drake armies into new lands. What can go wrong? We have potentially the end of Thalis, the named adventurer of Pallas, giving some very foreboding words about Manus and Pallas doing a joint push into the new lands. And they're already fighting and skirmishing with Great Plain Gnolls and tribes. I can see a lot going wrong. And, or maybe not even going wrong. I think the Drakes are happy to go to war for more land, but people we care about will be hurt, right? People will get to see more about how, I guess, the Great Plains and the Gnolls might have to unify to push back against these. Where's the first army, you know? Like, they're going down to Salis, about to destroy some Antinium, about to destroy some Gnolls, about to maybe battle it out with or Tyrandians coming in, or Noberg Nog, right? Like the land of the half sea people. Red Ink Quill. What do you think? What can go
Yeah.
wrong?
So if the Yulaz chapter in New Lands is any indication, we're going to get a big, and also no more healing potions, and healing potions actually losing effect in New Lands, and magic losing effect, like all the uh chests of holding, the sacks of holding, anything enchanted that's not really, really, really well enchanted, breaking, uh food not growing. We're going to see a war that is totally different than all wars that we've seen in world. It's not none of this. It's going to be all about logistics. It's going to be all about people that actually are healers and they know uh Geneva's skills in order to heal people. We're going to see wagon trains and ship trains, shipping lanes for food. It's going to be a really big thing because you can't just show up with some seeds and grow food. You can't just show up with chest holding full of food. You know, everything spoils, everything goes bad, all magic fails. Only Salus's potions hold effect. Like, this is going to be something totally different than we've seen in previous wars where like the biggest long term war thing we saw was when Geneva was first starting out in her healing thing, and she was working as a doctor on a
Yeah.
battlefield. And that was when healing potions existed. Now they don't. So we're going to, this is going to be a really huge difference. Starvation, infection, uh,
Red
cutting
Ink.
off limbs. You know, it's going to be crazy. Yeah.
I think in summation, this is when shit gets real, right? Like
Absolutely.
these are
Absolutely.
the new lands, quote unquote, but like the ancient Knoll spirits who brought it up,
Yeah.
like brought
This
up
land
old
this,
lands.
this
We have Knoll capital cities underground. This
well
is like lands where magic could be from like the time when magic died.
It's
potentially.
it's also land that's meant for the gnolls because the gnolls are the only nomadic uh people that are left on Israel that follow around caribou and shit. So the caribou can eat the grass and then they can eat the caribou, but
Right. It's
only
not
gnolls do that.
agricultural
Only
based, right?
gnolls do that. It's for people that move around and follow animals, not people that make settlements and farm. So
If mm,
I think if we're going to see Edelon and Palace fall, it's going to be in New Lands because he's going to fuck up majorly and die. So if anyone has death flags, it's Edelon. That's what I'm saying. New Lands is going to be the death of him. I think Manus is going to see a huge turnover in high level soldiers. We're going to see lots of problems in New Lands because all current modes of warfare and civilization are going to fail there. And
now,
the whole world is going to be going there and they're all going to be failing. Like the only reason that the drowned folk haven't like died yet is because they're getting fish from the sea. And that's the only reason they're still surviving. Otherwise, they would have that number knot would have starved already. And
well,
like
we get a glimpse of that with the fighter pilot chapters, right?
yeah, exactly,
Like
exactly.
they need meaningful like safety and passive and logistics, and the ventures are tough. Hopefully, the gnolls have more luck with their lands.
Yeah, I think the Knolls will be fine. Like the Plains Eye, you know, people that are moving there will be all right because they have luck powers and they're going to be following Caribou, and that'll be fine. But everyone else is going to have a hard time. Yeah.
Who knows? Those sword crabs are like level 30 threats. Mr. Thank you for sharing. Mr. Europe comments, New Lands arc has been pushed forward for 2 volumes. Maybe Salis will be safe because we will never get a big story arc there. Yeah, I think you're right. Salis is safe for the moment being. Mystical Pie. I agree with Mr. Europe. I'm hoping for the fallout of the Rag arc will be the regime change in Palace. If that happens, they may never actually end up sending an army to the new lands. That doesn't really line up with what's been foreshadowed for Sally/Anivia, though. So I'm not super confident in that prediction. Hey, Mystical Pie. I disagree. I think that first army is already en route, but who knows? Kainias comments, getting armies wiped out would be a good way to showcase some of the yet unknown dangers of the new lands, with Salis hopefully for surviving and ending up with someone interesting. But with so many factions there, some wars between them are also expected, but I don't think there are too many main characters affiliated to those factions that would make those wars interesting. I think the current surviving Antinium have huge pull there. And our friends, our Knoll friends, are there. And then the Horns of Hammer. I think this might be a next volume arc for sure, as when the Horns go back to uncover these like Drake cities that now exist in the sky, right? Because the land got brought up. Who knows? Huge thing. Um, and finally, the last question. Oh, does anybody have any other thoughts? Anything they want to share about the new lands? Cool, cool, cool. Okay, the last question and probably the end of our recording. Can the censor bar be negated? Professional watching skills or the hard line from pirate to prevent world breaking conclusions? Let me copy and paste that into the chat. But this question is in regards to the fact that when Elia opened up and asked about the creation, the secret from what creates Goblin Kings, they got a censor bar. Disappointing, but honestly, probably great for the story, right? These are really hard and I feel like rewarding answers that would feel cheap if the super strong level 70 skill cheated us out of it. Sare Bear, what do you think? Sare Bear the Elder, you tag me. What's up? What do you think about it?
Sorry, my mic was muted. The short answer is not really. the grand design doesn't know how the goblin do why the goblin can rage and do all of that stuff.
Mhm.
Subconsciously, obviously they know it because otherwise they would have not shown a door. So unless the grand design change, and since the grand design control everything, I don't think it can be shown in the Palace of Fate or thing like that. You you probably need an independent Palace of Fate made by Oberon or something like that to be able to show that scene. So yeah, unless the grand design change, I don't think the sensor bar will be negated in one way or another. Maybe with the root. Maybe with the roots, it's the fairy flower roots are bullshit and can't do anything.
Bear, I think you're right. In that moment when they talk about the sensor bar, Elia notices that Marsha's like, maybe it can be. She acts a
Yeah,
little shifty.
maybe the root can, but otherwise, I don't think it's possible to know. And you don't want that you don't want that information to be known really, because as Teriarch said in the previous chapter, if a goblin learned that, he's going to become a goblin king live.
Yeah, it's immediate bump.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you so much for sharing. Mystical Pie. This feels like something you could maybe solve with a pavilion and nothing else. True. I don't think it's the grand design putting a hard limit or the grand design not being able to. I think it just needs a different conclusion. It needs a different setup. I really want to know, but this isn't the time for it. Red Ink Quill comments, perhaps a reporter Drassy can use combo skills to reveal the info. Maybe. Um, Honestly, might have been one of the reasons Kevin died. Kevin was watching, had like pornography on the computer, could have seen like a skill to reveal censored objects. Who knows? Thurber Palace is stronger than the pavilion, and the pavilion can't do that, in your opinion. It's not necessarily that the palace can't show it. It's just it's censored for the 3 individuals watching. Who knows? A lot of fallout, a lot of stuff going on. And so that's the last of our discussion topics and questions. Does anybody else have anything to say? Maybe their favorite moment of the chapter? Any final goodbyes? Personally, I think the chapter was great, 9 out of 10, but it felt like a setup chapter. I can't wait to see the resolution, and I hope Rags lives. I hope Salas lives, but Salas is dying for sure in 2 volumes. Cool. Thank you so much for having me. Sidehammer commented, and I'm gonna read it so it exists forever in the YouTube video. Sidehammer commented, "Thanks for hosting, Bill. Thank you so much for having me. This was cool. It's nice to speak in one of these things. It's nice to hear people's thoughts. It's nice to read the comments. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.